Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest. Fred Armisen.
Prince Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Tracy Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
What's up? This is Elia Einhorn. Welcome back to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm back in Brooklyn, but we still have Shy representing. Today I'm joined by
Josh Modell representing Shy.
Josh is our executive editor here at the site. Listeners, we have a very, very cool show for you today. Two artists with fascinatingly similar elements in their backgrounds who are about to spend February touring America together. David Bazan of Pedro the Lion and Sarah Beth Tomberlin.
The reason they're out together in February is to tour behind a brand new Pedro the Lion record, the first one in 15 years. And of course, Tomberlin continuing to tour behind At Weddings, her super well-respected debut, which came out in 2018.
Josh, I really want to take a moment to comment on the way that At Weddings grew. You know, we often see labels spend a lot of money really just push an artist with everything they've got and take out billboards, do big press buys in magazines, on sites. I didn't see any of that with Tomberlin. What I saw was the kids genuinely loving a record, passing it on to the next person, passing on to the next person, telling the next person. And all of a sudden, there's this big groundswell about this young woman, Sarah Beth Tomberlin, who's only 23, and when her record came out, had never even toured. The songs on her debut record are very minimally adorned. It's mostly just her voice, which is beautiful, and some guitars. There's some guitar looping. Think very sparse, very atmospheric instrumentation.
Let's check out Any Other Way from At Weddings.
You said to look into your face each day. Can you tell I never look away? I'm tired of running away, but I turned this town upside down, and I never found another like you. God turned.
It's a very wistful record. It's a very lonely record. We hear about lost loves. We hear about struggling with relationships and self-acceptance. We also hear about some of the Christian concepts that she was raised on. It's interesting to note that Sarah Beth was born the daughter of a Baptist pastor. She was homeschooled, then she went off to Christian college, which she later dropped out of, and it's very much informed her artistry. I knew I wanted to have Sarah Beth on the show, and when I asked her to send over some names of artists she'd be really interested to speak to, one really stood out. That is, of course, David Bazan, who it turns out is one of her biggest influences, and as it turns out, is a huge fan of her record.
Bazan, of course, is best known as the leader of the band Pedro the Lion, which made a bunch of records in the late 90s and early 2000s, and then kind of went on hiatus while he explored a ton of different band names and sounds, including Headphones, Low Tom, Overseas, and of course some solo records. Pedro the Lion got back together in 2017 to do some touring, and now they've got a new record coming out called Phoenix, their first in 15 years.
They remind me what it was like. Astride that yellow by my kingdom for someone. Some folks are loners and you learn from them. If you've always been a joiner on the move again.
Like Sarah Beth Tomberlin, Dave Bazan has had a really interesting relationship with Christianity in his music. The earliest Pedro the Lion records were Christian records, and at some point he sort of began re-examining his faith and eventually, you could say, kind of losing it. And he really grappled with that in interviews and on records. And they have some great conversation about what it's like to move away from Christianity.
Josh, I also thought it was interesting to hear how their religious upbringings informed the way they think about their music now, even if the music is completely divorced from Christianity. What I mean by that, to give an example, is they both think of their music as a sort of service work, almost bringing the missionary attitude that they had in their religious years to their artwork and the messages inherent there.
Both of these artists have stepped away from Christianity, but it still clearly kind of informs what they do and informs their music. They're not, anti-Christian by any means. They're kind of exploring what it means to have been raised in the way that they both were. It's fascinating stuff, and it makes for a great conversation.
It really does. And there's so many interesting elements to this conversation. We hear about them not being allowed to listen to secular music as they grew up and the tricks they each used to get around that rule.
They talk about their stints at Bible college and the problems that they observed there.
Yeah, I had to look up, as I was editing this conversation, Josh, I had to look up a term they use, ring by spring. Had you ever heard this before?
I had not. I was very confused.
Same. So this is something that Bible colleges often encourage in their student body, which is they want the students to have found someone to marry by the spring semester of their senior year. It was really interesting to hear David and Sarah Beth get into that. Their talk also covers David's take on the biggest lie of Christianity.
And of course, finding personal salvation in the band that's bigger than Jesus, the Beatles.
Should we roll the tape?
Yeah, let's hear it.
To my spot. Where are you in the world?
In Chicago. We're playing here tonight.
Oh, wow, you're on tour.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It is going well, I think. This is my first ever time touring. So it's lots of figuring it out.
Yeah, is the day-to-day stressing you out consistently, or do you find...
It's been good, but I mean, yeah, I'm managing myself right now, and I just have no idea what I'm doing. But I have a lot of friends that are touring musicians and have a lot of good tips, and so I just ask a lot of questions all the time.
That's the way.
Yeah, so I think it's going okay. I haven't done anything too catastrophic yet, so we'll see how it goes. But I think it's going, yeah.
The road is just a series of indignities punctuated by hopefully the chance to express your music to people who want to hear it.
Yeah.
I read a little bit, like in your bio and stuff, but
yeah.
What was your experience sort of beginning to write songs and then moving from that phase to putting out a record and being on tour? And what were the obstacles that you kind of faced? Were they mostly internal, or were there a lot of external things that you were running up against too?
I think there were definitely both internal, external kind of like things keeping me from really going for it, I guess. Like I've always been writing songs and like singing songs growing up around the house. I mean, all of our home videos of me, I'm pretty much like just making up 10-minute, 15-minute long songs.
These were songs you were making up like on the spot? Or
yeah.
Kind of, that's so cool.
I mean, some of them were like, fine. And like some of it was like I was literally just a kid and I'm like, something, a wish, and a pile of fish. Like that's something, it's just like rhyming.
Well, it's a good thing to exercise your creativity without self-consciousness. And there's
Definitely.
not a lot of time that people get to do that in their lives.
Yes,
that's
for sure.
so rad.
So my parents were really encouraging in that. My mom is an amazing like singer, and she also plays like piano and flute and church and stuff. I mean, music was always around, so
I've had that experience too because of church.
Yeah, so it wasn't like anything out of the ordinary, and it wasn't even when I was writing as I was getting older, and I really enjoyed like creative writing projects and things like that. So that was just always like that was something that was known about me, like within my family, that like that was just something that I did and enjoyed and was like okay at.
And where did you connect with like what you thought of as creative writing the first time? Was it in school or was it at home in some context?
Yeah, I was homeschooled my whole life.
Oh, right.
So my mom, I mean, it was pretty early on where she like, aside from like English classes, would have us do, my sister and I do like creative writing like assignments where she would give like topics to write on, and then we'd have to write a certain amount of pages or something. And I really that was it came really easily. So
and was that stories or just kind of whatever?
Stories, like fiction. I liked writing like in first person as well, just about like experiences.
Yeah.
With just like very colorful language. I was looking for like a folder to put some papers on the other day, and yesterday when I was home for a minute, and I like found a bunch of old creative writing stuff, and I like looked at one and I was like, yikes. But I mean, all of it's, you know, central to like where you're at that time. But I mean, that was just something that I did and enjoyed, and did it even when it was just like not assigned to me.
That is so cool. That harkens back to that thing too. Just, it's hard to find that space, especially once your work is out in the world and people give you feedback about it.
Yeah.
To just create unselfconsciously and not worry. And to have exercised that muscle so often as a kid is just such a great thing for an artist's development, I think. That's just so cool.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that, but yeah, pretty cool.
My creative writing experience started in high school and in a class at a public high school, in a creative writing class. And one of the things I liked about it was it offered me a chance to be provocative. I didn't know I wanted to do that, but the writing that I did ended up being provocative in that space. Because your mom was your teacher, were you able to be a provocative relative to where you're coming from? Were you able to kind of stretch out that way, or were there limitations that you were aware of that you had to kind of stay within?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I think internalizing things and being like, I don't want to have a conversation where like later she's going to be like, what does this mean? Right. So yeah, so I definitely, there were limitations, and that was just maybe informed by like, I would even print off like song lyrics that I really liked, and like keep them in a notebook. And one time she found like, I think it was even like Paramore lyrics, that it was not really that crazy, but she was like, this isn't really beneficial to like be listening to or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I had to give up the Beatles. I've discovered the Beatles in 8th grade, and I wasn't allowed to listen to Christian music, or to secular music, I should say.
Same.
And but I discovered the White Album and the 67 through the Blue Best of.
Yeah.
And I loved it so much, but I strategically I fucked up, and I was walking around my house in 8th grade singing Your Blues. I'm so lonely I want to die, which is just a fantastic song. But my dad just was like, look, you can't, like, you just have to stop listening. What he said is you can appreciate it at intervals, like maybe every couple of months, put it on and recognize or whatever. But I mean, I had an auto reverse Walkman with a 90-minute cassette with the, first disc of the White Album on one side plus whatever else could fit, and the same thing from the Blue Best of. And it was 24/7 in my ears because it was salvation. It was so amazing. But same thing. There was just like those limitations, and it wasn't beneficial for me.
They're like, this with everything like that we know about you seems like it could turn.
Yeah, right. Who knew that suicidal ideation would be such a thing?
They're just like, we have like a sneaking suspicion. But yeah, I mean, it was the same. I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music.
So where did you experience the cultural stuff? At church?
Church, yeah. And just like through church and like the kids there. And then like we would still go to like football games and stuff, like different like social activities outside of like with like the kids that did go to public school. I think we were finishing up our 8th grade year, and then so then high school like hits, or like that realm, and and also with iPods. So I guess like maybe earlier than that, maybe like 12 years old, 12, 13, because my cousin Melody, who lives in Atlanta, she had an iPod before I did, or my sister did, and a whole huge iTunes library. And I would just, like, every time we would get to go visit them, I would be like, here, just like put everything on my iPod.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so then that's like, you don't have to hide CDs anymore.
No.
Because I did buy, so it was like 12 years old, 13. The first CDs that I bought that I like hid from my parents were like Dashboard Confessional, The Places You've Come to Fear the Most, Transatlanticism, like Death Cab, and then Chicago, the movie soundtrack.
Oh, cool.
Because homeschooled and like you just have to be into musicals, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like a rule. But yeah, so that changed the game, like iPods, because you didn't have to like you don't have to hide the CDs. So yeah, I would just have her load all of this stuff on, and like half of the stuff on my iPod, like I wouldn't have even like touched yet because I would be really like into certain things. So that's how I really got everything.
And when you got your iPod loaded up from your cousin Melody, was there one or two records beyond the ones that you mentioned that you connected to right away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's how I heard Mira, who I'm on tour with right now.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah. So pretty full circle there. I mean, I liked Taking Back Sunday, and like always the age-old question was like Death Cab or Dashboard. Like if you had to choose one, like which one?
That's amazing.
Do you like the most? And those are like, I mean, and I really liked the Postal Service, like the.
It's a great record. Super good songwriting. It's good.
So yeah, I mean, I think those were what I clung to pretty heavy in those years of just like angst, and like everything is just such a big deal at that age.
It helps to process those emotions as I mean, really, I think I'm going through at 42, like listening to your record, I'm processing things at 42 that you're processing now. And part of it has to do with the space that I guess we both grew up in, and purity culture and like all of these things. And I look back on the little dude that I was, and I just wish there was somebody to speak to that person and say, hey, these are hard things. This is going to be okay. And I think that, you know, Death Cab offers that.
Yeah,
to
for
people.
sure.
And, you know, your music offers that to me now. I can hear, I don't know, I can hear people's perspective in my life when I listen to your record, and it helps me understand where they're coming from better, and myself. And I assume my music works that way for people too, because I've needed that, and so I offer that. But
yeah,
I'm so grateful for Death Cab.
Yeah. I mean, really, like, I mean, I still listen to those records. I mean, Transatlanticism is like, I think my favorite Death Cab record.
Unstoppable. It's an unstoppable
I mean, like,
record.
it should probably be everyone's favorite, but it's
not. It's a great record. Although I love, I really do love the Photo album too. Those guys don't really dig that one so much, I think, but.
Yeah, but I mean, I still, there's bangers for days.
Classic record. Love it.
Yeah. In that same realm, I think that's how I got your music too. I mean, it's just like sharing in people, like, I mean, I made a lot of mixed CDs as well. Like I was very into mixed CDs, and I would like make cover art, like collage.
That's making records. Friends. That's practice making records. It's so cool. So you're discovering Death Cab and music, and then in high school, are you living in the same town for the whole time, or did you move in high school?
Yeah. So we moved to Fairfield in I think it was November of 2007, and I was 12.
You were 12, okay.
So I mean, my parents still live there. So yeah, they're still there, and we stayed there. Except for when I turned 16, I went to a Christian college for like 2 semesters.
Where at? Nearby?
In Louisville. It's called Boyce. And it's like the other undergrad of Southern Seminary.
Okay. Is that a Baptist denomination? Okay.
Yeah. Southern Baptist Theological Seminary.
Right.
So basically, I became a Christian, quote unquote, pretty young. And I think I recommitted like my life or whatever. Also, I was under the age of 12. I mean, I was like very guilty. Felt a lot of shame. So yeah, it was just like those kind of things. I also went to Uganda like on a mission trip after I turned 16 as well, the summer before I went to school. I was just really trying to like be obedient in like the way that I thought I needed to be. And also like my parents didn't really push me to go to like that school necessarily, but they, you know, encouraged it. And I also, this is where like the internalization, like I felt that was like the only place that they would let me go at so young. And my sister also went, like my older sister, like we went there at the same time and like we shared a dorm room. So it was like a certain amount of safety. Yeah. That they were like okay with. And I didn't have a car. So I just was there on campus.
So in that sense, was it kind of a good option?
I wanted to get out of Illinois. Yeah. So I was like, this is, and just out of that town, it's like a town of like 5,000 people. It's very rural. How I explain that is the nearest Target or like a Starbucks it was in Evansville, Indiana, which is an hour and 15-minute drive.
Yep.
So yeah, I was just kind of like, I need to leave. And so that was the way out. And we had lived in Louisville before, so I like knew the area and knew some people still there. And so that's where I was. And I stuck it out for 2 semesters and then dropped out because I was like, I can't actually do this or be here. And
what was your experience there? Like, what was it culturally that it didn't work, or was it the stuff you were learning was just there's too much conflict?
The culture there is like obviously very conservative, very like encouraging like young student freshmen like basically to get married like as soon as possible. And like ring by spring is like a situation there.
Just an aside, my parents met at Bethany Bible College, which is was an Assemblies of God college in outside of Santa Cruz. And so from the time I was a kid, I heard the joke Bethany Bridal College instead of Bible. And then I also went to an Assemblies of God college for 2 years, 4 semesters.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you stuck it out.
Yeah. And I
tried.
But I knew... So like that was definitely something I knew going in, was that was like a trope of Bible college and of the culture in general, because women's value was thought to be as wives and mothers, not as professionals. So yeah, I grew up with that idea, and I get that it's a joke and also it's not a joke. Ring by Spring was a part of the culture that you moved into.
Yeah.
Did you feel that directly? Like, was that pointed at you, or were you just like
they have actual talks, like where they separate like the boys and the girls, and like,
whoa,
like they like have like talks on biblical like manhood and womanhood.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, yeah. So it was just a lot of that. And even not being in like a public school context, I did go to public school for driver's ed. Yeah. But that was it. And even the context of like walking across like the J-Bowl or whatever is what they call it, like the lawn. I remember I was walking with somebody to the cafeteria or whatever, and I got in, and this girl comes up to me and is like, "Oh, do you like him? Like, are you guys like talking?" And I was like, "I'm sorry. I'm like, what are you saying?" Because I wasn't used to just like that social, like that weird, these unsaid rules and like these, I don't even know the language for it. It's just, it was very uncomfortable and my RA like took me to, coffee shops, like, I want to get to know you. And then is like just asking me like really personal questions, like really just trying to like know about me and like what my deal is.
And to control you a little.
Yeah. And so then like you want to rebel against that. So like I would say I got in my first like boyfriend-girlfriend relationship when I was at school, and the guy ended up being just like really awful and abusive and things. And I just, it was like, getting in, like making out, in his car and stuff, and like heavy making out. And then he would be like, later I would be like, I feel like bad about this. He was like, well, that's like good, because at least like like the Lord is like working in you and like
boy,
like all that stuff. Yeah, so that was really not good for me.
It's just like mindfuck central. I mean,
yeah,
all
and
that
you're like,
stuff.
this dude he thinks he's going to be a pastor.
Ugh.
And like all
He's
of these,
practicing controlling people already.
yeah, I mean, it's so and that culture like cultivates that toxic situation where it's just unhealthy, and there actually aren't any boundaries for these men.
No, they do what they can get away with on balance.
Yeah,
they think.
Yeah. So
I mean, I guess I should say we.
I mean, yeah, it's something that I really actually have a lot of like empathy for, because you're a product of like your environment, and it's just like ingrained. It
is, but there's a way out of it, and it's thinking and empathy.
Yeah.
And recognizing the experiences that other people are having. Every one of those people has the tools to see their way clear of it. And maybe it's just a matter of time, but if you really hurt somebody when you're young and you recognize it, it changes you if you recognize it. You know, you just like, fuck, I can't, that was wrong, or that was unfair, or whatever. Yeah. I have, as a guy with a libido as strong as anybody's, I just feel like there are ways to pay attention better and not put people in. Anybody who's been put in a fucked up situation and didn't want to be there can recognize, like, oh, this person that I'm putting them in an uncomfortable situation. They don't want to be here. How does it benefit me to keep them in this situation? You know.
But that's just something that like isn't even talked about, you know.
No, it's not.
And it's just like, don't have sex before marriage.
Yep.
And there's no other tools in your tool basket. Like, it's just kind of like, so if if something does happen, I don't even know what's happening, but like I know that it's wrong because I'm not supposed to be doing this anyway. Like, but it's just.
But you're not even aware of consent as a thing that you have the power to exert. You know.
Oh man, yeah. So, I mean, that was a major part of me like leaving, because I didn't realize it at the time, but I was really trying to get away from him. I went in August of 2011.
Yeah.
And then I left in May of 2012 after like the end of my second semester. But we didn't even break up until like that summer, because it just was like I kept trying to, and it would just never happen.
Well, I'm glad it finally did.
Yes, me too. So I moved back home and was, back at church. And I mean, I was at church when I was in school, but back in that environment.
Back in your home church, kind of.
Yes. Yeah. And after having like a taste of freedom somewhat, and like being able to kind of set what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then moving back was really tough. And also, but it was like I was 17.
Yeah.
I just turned 17 when I moved back. So it was just getting older and realizing that like I had things that I was feeling and dealing with, but didn't really feel like it was okay.
Yeah.
Or like going to church and then starting to feel anxious and like having panic attacks, because I was just like, I don't think, like kind of coming to terms with the fact that I just really didn't think that I believed, or like, I don't know. It's just, like when you kind of allow yourself to realize that you don't actually know what you're doing, or why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And like wanting like not to disappoint my parents and like shame them. But also like be able to be myself.
It's a funny dynamic that I experienced too, where my parents were on the one hand, I think technically like fundamentalist Christians, but on the other hand, within that sphere, they valued critical thinking, and indirectly, mostly taught us to value critical thinking and fairness and taking responsibility for your actions, and like all of these things kind of come together into like a really rigorous kind of reaping and sowing setup. And once you really dig into that as a human, and then you apply that rigor to the culture that you grew up in, it's a done deal. They didn't know that they were giving us the tools to break out of the culture that they had come up in and they had brought us up in. And the pain for them is the biggest. For my parents is for me, it was freedom ultimately, and it's been painful to exert that. But in the end, I'm so grateful for their personalities and their temperaments and what they were doing in spite of it's just a bad coincidence on their part, or a good coincidence on our part, depending on, how you look at it. But it is odd that there are tons and tons of fair-minded, loving people within Christianity who also value critical thinking, and they're in this like battle between conformity to the patriarchy and this critical thinking. And, in some of my family, the conformity to the patriarchy just wins every time, in spite of the fact that they taught me critical thinking growing up. And that's a tough thing.
That's something where I've talked to a few people about this recently, and actually somebody at one of the shows the other night talking about like their experience with, it's really hard when your parents have raised you to like seek truth and honesty, and doing your best at that, and just really being authentic and like being transparent and whatever that is. But then when you do it and it's not aligned with, like when you're doing it and you're like, hey, so by the way, I don't know if I like actually, like this is really hard to say, but I don't think that I believe this stuff, which I had to say to my parents.
Were you at home when you did that, or did you go out to eat or what?
No, we were at home. I mean, there was just a lot of conflict because they just didn't understand like what my goals were, I guess, or like that they had changed from, after I left school, and I was like really I was angry at this system, and like at the fact that like women were valued about. It's so frustrating to be like, oh, I'm supposed to be a wife and mother, and like, or I'm limited to these certain things, and like biblical womanhood and what that looks like. And I mean, all of it was just very, very toxic. And I mean, it's like, I think being a mom and a wife is great. Like that's a job, and that's hard, and that's beautiful. But not everybody wants to do that. Yeah.
Well, the feeling that you're relegated to these roles in culture, and if you want to do anything else, it's a street fight to get there. That's fucking terrible.
There's no space like for your desires or feelings or like whatever to be held. Like it's just rejected. It's like, this isn't actually what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, the feeling, the message that I got really clearly was, your body is bad. Don't listen to your body. Your flesh is bad. You're fallen.
Ignore it, basically.
And if you if you do listen to your body, it's going to tell you to fuck everything. That's all that you're going to get from it, is like, have sex with this, have sex with that, have sex with this. And when I got that's the biggest lie of Christianity, I feel like, because when you get to a certain point where you're able to sort of take that step of faith to trust your body, it's telling you what it needs. And it's only rarely telling you to fuck something, you know? And if you're really listening to your body too, it's asking, and it's having you ask, and there's so much information there about how to live right and how to find equilibrium. And we were told that it was bad. And I believed it for so long, till like last week, is what it feels like.
Felt that deeply. Like, you're told that this is the safest of places, and it's actually not.
Oh my gosh, it's so deadly.
Yeah. And like people, like the idea of like needing to share your sin, and like it's not even like who even said, like what is that and what does that mean? And like no, like how do you navigate like what is a safe, like I mean just as a kid and like a pastor's kid, it was like I wanted to like tell my friends things that I was dealing with, but I was also afraid of them gossiping about me or like spreading lies about me and like my family. Like I didn't want that to happen. So you just are like freaking out all the time. And I found internet friends through like Tumblr and like blogs and Twitter and shit. Like I found people that like maybe weren't going through the same exact thing, but like similar things. Or one of my friends, dear friend still, like we have a lot in common. They were a pastor's kid as well, and they are a person that understands in a way that many of my other friends will never be able to. There's just like this unsaid kind of understanding and things that we don't have to spend like an hour explaining, and we can spend like one and we're like, yeah, I got it. Like you don't even have to go any further.
That's a gift.
Yeah, it truly, truly is. But yeah, I mean, that was the environment, and I was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I worked at like a coffee shop and then Subway for 4 months and Family Video, and then I got a job at Verizon. I worked at Verizon from like 18 to 21, and now I'm 23.
Like a retail store, Verizon? Yeah.
So I did a community college like associate degree. I did associate in science. So I was like working 40, 45 hours a week and doing like 15 hours of school just because I was like trying to get out of there again.
And that seemed like the path, like get my degree, work so that no one can get on my case.
Yeah.
Save
like
money.
Something. Yeah, it was like saving money, and I paid for, my school like as I was going, so I didn't have to have like debt. Like I was very aware of the things that I did not want to be
into
dealing with, with all the other things that I was dealing with. So I mean, really the record was written from like, I wrote Tornado, I think in the end of 2014.
And that was the first song that you wrote that ended up on the record?
Yeah.
And that's a piano? Yeah.
That was a song that I wrote, and then like I didn't share it with anyone for a couple of weeks. I think the first person I shared it with was maybe like my younger sister in my car, and I was just like, hey, I did this thing. Like,
what was her reaction?
She thought it was really good. Yeah, she was just like, this is good. And I was like, okay. And then like move on. So I kind of like started slowly sharing it with like a few different people, and and
that's a heady time in one's development. I just want to stop and just revel in that moment when you get to start showing people something like that and they respond positively. It's so powerful.
It scared me.
Yeah.
It was more like, oh, like, am I going to be able to do this again? With, writing something that wasn't trash.
Yep. That feeling won't go away for 20 years, I don't think.
I am fully aware of it. All right, I feel that way even now, but.
I've only recently, swear to God, crossed the threshold to a place where it's just like, stop doubting.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It took. I mean, maybe I'm a slow learner. I think my records and interviews probably indicate that. But yeah, it took me 20 years to get to the point where it's just like, hey, don't be self-conscious. Just make something. And
I mean, I try that. Like some days I feel that way, but overall, my feeling is fear.
Self-doubt has been one of the bigger dragons for sure to slay.
And it's also like a questioning of self. Like, it's not even like, can I write? It's like, how can I even edit this to not be just like...
Yeah, the worst junior high poetry version of myself.
Yeah. Isolating those like things that you're trying to translate is difficult.
Well, so you're playing this song for your sister, Tornado, and beginning the question of, can I do this again? And then what was the second indication that, yeah, you probably could do it more? Was it just that you wrote a second song?
Yeah, I mean, I just kept trying to write better songs. I mean, I was like, okay, so this one, like, I kept it for a couple weeks or months, I don't really remember, and like still didn't hate it because that was like,
that's so cool.
I wouldn't share stuff unless I had like sat with it a long time, and
that's a good habit.
And like, okay, well, I still don't hate it, so I think it's worked thus far. So, but yeah, so I just kept trying.
The flip side to that is, if you're emotionally needy, like I've been, sometimes I pass stuff along before I know what it is, and that is a recipe for very unstable feelings and emotional demands on friends and things that are not cool to put. Your way is so much better.
Well, thanks. I don't know what I'm doing, but trying my best.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the record, like, I didn't really realize that it was going to be a record. Like, the songs that I wrote were just like my best attempts at songwriting. And then it ended up being cohesive enough where I was like, I guess this is kind of a record, or like a EP or something.
How far along were you when that hit you? Do you think that it was going to be a collection?
Like, how many songs did I have?
Yeah, was it like, were you like a year into it, or?
Yeah, like a year.
Yeah,
or less, maybe.
Yeah,
I wrote all the songs within pretty much a year time frame on the record, except for 17 I wrote last year.
Yeah.
And a video game was a little later too. But yeah, all the other songs are pretty much written within like a year's time frame. So yeah, I think around 6 songs is when I felt like it was cohesive enough to like maybe share, and then I wrote some more. And
did that idea come from you, where you got 6 songs and you listened to them enough where you're like, hey, this is kind of a thing?
I had friends that were like musicians, and they were like, they had offered to record and stuff.
That's cool.
So that kind of got the idea going. And then I eventually, just put it up on Bandcamp. But then Joyful Noise reached out to me about being a part of their white label series.
Rad.
Their white label series is they sell a subscription at the beginning of the year, and then it's curated by people on their label, and then you get sent 1 record a month throughout the year.
That's
that
cool.
Someone has chosen. So Mira chose my record.
Man, that's so cool.
Which is, wild stuff. And at that point, it was just 7 songs. At Weddings was. And then once Saddle Creek, like, it was only on Bandcamp for like a month or so. A couple labels reached out, but Saddle Creek was one of the labels, and they emailed me and then came and visited me last October, and it was like the weekend of Halloween in Louisville.
So almost a year ago.
Yeah. So that's how it happened. I didn't really try. There's like all of these men in my DMs all the time, like, I'm not really asking you how to get signed, but like, how do I get signed?
Oh man.
And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I don't respond to them anyway, because I just like, it's not my job to like do that. But yeah, it's weird to explain to people that I didn't actually like try to track down a label. I just was like wanting to release the songs, and like Bandcamp was an easy way to do that.
Well, I think the answer to all those questions is just keep writing. Don't focus on trying to get signed or any of that other stuff. It's you got to make your stuff how you want it, and keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, it's more just about like releasing it and like share it with friends, like share it with.
Yeah.
I mean, share it on the internet, like even if you're uncomfortable sharing it with friends, and you can be like, hey, like, here's this. But because it's not like I was ever, I'm really like shy with that kind of stuff. Like I don't really have, and maybe I don't really have a lot of confidence in
I've heard of that.
But yeah, so it's more so just like when I do that kind of stuff, I have to like push myself. Like even when I like post promotional stuff, like just sharing something like, here's this, like I will like post something and then like do a task where I know that I have to be away from my phone. Like I'll like be like, okay, I'll post this, even if it's like a video, like anything, like just sharing anything that's like music from me, or even me like doing like a small cover or something, like post it. And then I'm like gonna take a shower because I know that I'll be occupied for like a while and like not be able to look at my phone or like not engage. Yeah, it's just very uncomfortable for me. But at the same time, I really like know that like music like yours and like a lot of different people's like really helped me. And like if I'm able to do that and share stuff that could help other people, like why wouldn't I?
I feel the same motivation a lot, and it requires that to get over the hump, like you're saying, because to do a thing, you're just saying, hey, everybody, look at me. And I'm getting ready to do that right now with the new Pedro record, and I'm having massive anxiety about it because it just feels like, well, there's like a self-aggrandizing aspect to it that is unavoidable. And for me, the only justification that I can find to do that is if I'm taking risks that are the kind of risks that when other people have taken what I perceive to be similar risks, that they've helped me. It's like when somebody raises a hand in class and says, I don't understand what we're doing. Can you rephrase it or something? And then everybody else is like, oh, thank God, you know. Yeah. It just feels like, okay, I'll be that. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I have boundary issues, and vulnerability seems like the antidote to so many problems. And so I'm really well equipped to just put myself out there, even if it's unhealthy on some level, but it hopefully yields something positive. And
I think all of it takes work. Like it's just not easy. Like it's not like it's easy to create boundaries, and it's not like it's easy to, I don't know, navigate that, especially just with both of our background. It's like, okay, I need to learn what boundaries are in general. And just like the fact that I don't have to like, you know, split my chest open and like dump everything out all the time to like even feel validated, like I'm actually friends with somebody. Like that's something that I'm still learning. Like, oh, I don't actually have to tell this person all my shit. Like
I know. I even on this call, I was literally thinking, okay, what are the boundaries? Because if I get in a communication, like conversation, interviews with strangers, conversation with strangers, I will just open all the way up.
Yeah, same.
And I'm learning that that's not. Well, so my friends,
like not really a safe place sometimes.
It's not.
You just have to figure out where are the safe places, and like who will this information actually be beneficial to, or am I like working through something right now? I think.
Yeah. I've been such a dumbass about that over the years. And we were just talking about it at band practice yesterday because we were trying to decide the 3 focus tracks for the promotion, you know, the run up to the record. One of them that we were choosing between is this really vulnerable song, really super intimate. You know, a lot of Pedro songs, a lot of Bazan songs are that way. Of course, your entire record feels that way to me too. But in the context of an otherwise sort of different feeling record, I realized that maybe this song is for the album and for shows and not for the broadcast. Like that maybe we put our songs that have a bit of rhino skin on them out front. Like, you know, after Joshua Tree, U2 changed. They were so vulnerable their whole career before that, boundaryless in interviews and everything. And then when they flipped over to Octung Baby mode, they became caricatures of themselves, I think deliberately.
Like a self-preservation kind of thing.
Yeah. But I think if you listen to the discography, and I'm not suggesting that you do, some people find that to be torture, but there is a shift that happens at Octung Baby where they're not able to be vulnerable and authentic anymore. And so trying to figure out, like, what can I learn from their shift between those 2 records and yet still not lose my ability to do real shit that is about what I want and not how it hits the marketplace. And for me, that is learning these articulated boundaries, which, like you say, growing up Christian, evangelical Christian, for some reason, that we just were not taught that. And it's definitely hard to navigate.
Yeah. I think it's, no one is ever going to like know all the answers, and there's like no textbook that's going to like be the guide to how you navigate all the things and all the questions.
I found enormous resources on Twitter, of all places, in the form of ex-evangelical women.
Same.
Who are, in some cases, like Enneagram people. But yeah, there's something about ex-evangelical female voices that are the most consistent source of wisdom and help. And like you say, it is subjective, and there isn't a textbook, but there's wisdom around, and you have to piece it together, you know. Growing up the way that we did, that is one thing that I've had to get over, is that all of the data is out there, but it's all in these pieces, and you just have to put it together.
It takes work to educate like yourself and your mind and your body and heart. It's like discipline in a way.
It is, without a doubt. And the simple view of the world where there's this one book that you just stay in orbit of, this one book, and everything's going to be fine. Yeah. And man, I just have never seen that work.
Or like it won't be fine, but in the end, it's like,
right.
You know. But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. And I'm just glad, like, I'm thankful for you, and thankful, like, that you're out there doing this still. And, like, want to say that, because that's like, I think people like me with my background, and, like, even, like, two of my best friends, Dave and Matt, they're playing in my live show, and they, like, are also huge fans of you and your writing.
Cool.
Like, it's like those are helpful. Like, you are giving people tools to navigate, you know, these questions and these like frustrations and just things that like no one knows the answer to, but like at least we can like talk it out and like work through it and navigate it together, and like through music. And it's, that's the comfort that I carry with me every day. Like, this is how like we are navigating things, and that's like, and those can be safe spaces. Nothing is perfect, and things are like infiltrated, but
yes,
I think a lot of people are trying their best and like want to listen and want to speak and want to like know and educate and just like shut up for a second. Like, I'm overwhelmed with all of like the things that I don't know, but I'm like, I want to, you know, learn and listen and be quiet, but also like speak up when something is like really like not today. But I could talk forever, and I feel like you could too, which is great, and we should talk more. But thank you so much for like doing
it was my
this.
pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Well, of course.
I love your record.
Thank you. I love your records. I'm very stoked for the new Pedro record. So
I think it's pretty cool. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I'm excited.
Well, congrats on everything, and I hope it just goes great for you.
Thanks so much. I really enjoyed talking to you. This like made my day that you wanted to do this. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. See you soon.
Okay, later.
Bye.
Bye.
Sarah Beth Tomberlin, David Bazan, thank you so much for joining us here on the Talkhouse Podcast. Josh, I thought it was so fucking cool that the two met here on the podcast, hit it off so well, stayed in touch, and have now just announced that big tour together in February. We help make dreams come true.
Another beautiful friendship spawned by Talkhouse.
Yes. And listeners, if you enjoyed today's conversation, another episode that I'll recommend, which resulted in the exact same thing, a friendship and a tour together, the Torres and Brandy Carlisle episode of the podcast explores a lot of the same themes. Today's episode was recorded by Joe Darnaby in Chicago and David Bazan at his home.
The Talkhouse theme song was composed and performed by The Range, and you can find Talkhouse on various social channels, including Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
You can now find us on Spotify. But listeners, I'm guessing you already knew that because the week that we hit Spotify, we were already trending amongst their podcasts. So thank you to everybody who's been checking us out over there. We have some incredible podcasts coming for you all next year, including conversations with, you ready? Preoccupations and Proto-Martyr, Tierra Whack and Namdi Ogbanaya, Vince Clark and Orbital, Sylvan Esso and Anna Dresden, Ariel Pink and Kate Laban, Boogerins and Kikagaku Moyo, and so many, many more. But for now, happy holidays, and we are signing off for 2018. I'm Elia Einhorn.
I'm Josh Modell.
See you next year.
Bye.